In this module, we will use the form and brown paper jacket we have created in the previous modules and create a standard W. Take your form and place it on a clean sheet of pattern paper. Trace all around the form. Remember to keep your pencil up straight in order to get an accurate copy. Now also mark the back height point as well as the vamp point and the joint. Now remove the form and place the brown paper accurately within the boundaries of the traced form lines. Because of the creasing, the brown paper jacket will be slightly smaller, so you will need to stretch it out a little. Now trace off any area where we added tape extensions. In this case, it is in the inside waist area. Note that we have two lines in the waist area. The outer one is the inside feather edge, and the inside one is the outside feather edge. You now need to deal with the inside front feather edge, which was too long. Take your brown paper test jacket and remove the piece that was too long. Now place the jacket back onto the copy of your form and lift up the outside of the jacket to reveal the inside feather edge. Now trace this edge as well. When you remove the test jacket, it will reveal the typical feather edge configuration, where in the vamp area, the outside feather edge is on the outside and the inside feather edge is on the inside of the traced form. The lines cross at around the joint area, and the outside moves to the inside and the inside moves to the outside. It's important that you see this and keep it in mind. This configuration is not always the case, as some lasts end up symmetrical and have only one line all the way, and others have only the vamp area that is symmetrical, and the waist area has an inside and outside. In the case of a last with a pronounced big toe area like sandal lasts or orthopedic shoes, you will find that the lines cross again at the toes. Take your ruler and draw a line between the vamp point and the joint. Draw it lightly, as you may have to change this later on. This is called your girth line. Now measure the distance between the joint and the vamp point and get the halfway mark. This is called your top line point. Now join the top line point to the back height. This line is called the top line. At the back height, we need to create some clip to tighten the top line. We will explain why in a separate video. From the back height mark, measure 2 millimeters forward along the top line and make a mark. Now blend the back curve into this point. If you have worked accurately, you will note this becomes a nice continuous curve. We now have to determine our last length. So take your last and measure the distance between the back height and the center front feather edge. It is important that the tape is flat on the last all the way. Don't pull it tight that it lifts off the last at the vamp point. Now write this measurement on the paper in the top side of your work. In our case, we write down LL equals 254 millimeters. LL refers to last length. We will use this measurement in our design work going forward, so it needs to be done accurately. We now have to determine the style point. The style point will replace the vamp point. Sometimes they are the same, but most of the time they will be different. To determine this, we will measure from our new back height towards the center front line. This measurement is 2/3 last length plus 4 millimeters. In other words, in our case, we will take 254 and divide it by 3 and multiply it by 2 to get 2/3. This gives us 169 millimeters. Then we add 4 millimeters, which gives us 173 millimeters. We take our ruler and measure this from the back height towards the center front line at the vamp point R. Here we make a mark, which becomes our style point. In our case, it is exactly the same as the vamp point. If yours ends up different, you will need to erase your vamp pont and old girth line and replace it with the style point and new girth line. We now have our master standard, which is referred to as a standard W completed. Clean up your lines. The feather edge and all other lines must be smooth lines with no bumps. Now take your knife and cut the standard W out on the outer parameters. All patterns we name them appropriately with pattern name, last name, size and date. Name it standard W and write down the last name, which in our case is Zurich, / the size, which is in our case 4. Then also the date on which you made the pattern. Now we have our standard W completed. Ink in your feather edge lines to make them clear. Also ink in your last length as you will need it in future whenever you do a design. You can now recreate your paper test using this standard W just to make 100% sure that it is correct. Once you are happy, you need to keep your standard W safe. I personally make a scan of mine in case it gets lost or damaged. You will never need to repeat this process for this specific last. Each of your last shapes will have its own standard W, which Yopu will use for your designs and pattern engineering. Our next step will be to create a design and make the patterns. Please like and subscribe so we can bring you more content.